Hey there, hope you had a nice weekend. Welcome to DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. John Kiriakou is traveling right now, and as far as we know, he's not going to be able to make the show this morning. Guest host Robbie West, our producer, is sitting in for John. Good morning, Robbie.
Morning. Yeah, I mean, there's still a chance John can pop in. Who knows? He is a international man of mystery, so we'll just kind of figure it out.
He's kind of the definition of an international man of mystery, really. So yeah, that's true. And so, John, if you're wherever you are and you hear us, definitely pipe in. You know what to do. We're looking forward to hearing from you. We are here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. That's live, but you can stream anytime, and we appreciate those of you who do. Most of you are streaming, so don't feel like you're the weirdos. Us live people are the weirdos. In fact, I should stream my own show and not even be here. That would be probably more convenient. Please like, follow, and share the show. We are just to, in case you remember our little kerfluffle with YouTube last week, that all is apparently resolved. So if you are so motivated to support John and I and Robbie by making a donation on YouTube, you can do that. Rumble never has a problem and still doesn't have a problem in that respect. Let's see what else is going on. We're going to be dropping some, I guess John and I have to do some Rumble Premium episodes before the end of the month. So we'll talk to John about that. In the news this morning, the U.S. Army has ordered, there's a lot going on in terms of the Minneapolis. I think it's fair to call it a crisis at this point. The U.S. Army has ordered 1,500 U.S. Army troops currently stationed in Alaska, where they're used to the cold, to prepare for possible deployment to Minnesota in preparation for Trump's possible declaration of the Insurrection Act. Kristi Noem, head of the Department of Homeland Security, denied yesterday that ICE ever used chemical agents against peaceful Minnesotans, but then she backtracked when presented with a video and then said that it was completely justified. The FBI is asking agents to travel to Minneapolis for a mysterious temporary duty that they're not saying what that would be. ICE officers killed an ICE detainee in Camp Montana, of all names, in El Paso, just keeping the names confusing. The medical examiner is about to rule that to be a homicide. 2 witnesses claim that they saw ICE officers choking the victim to death. And finally, the FBI has formally killed whatever investigation it did or did not have into the shooting of Renee Good by Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent there. All hell has continued to break loose over the weekend there. And speaking, I guess we're just going to have cold weather crises on today's show. The Greenland Crisis, I think that's also fair to call a crisis, has now broken out into full-out trade war between the U.S. and the EU. The EU is imposing, effective February 1st, over $100 billion in tariffs against U.S. products. We will talk about that. Kamala Harris, while she was vetting possible running mates, asked Pennsylvania's Josh Shapiro if he had ever been an Israeli agent, and he's acting like that's something that was an unreasonable question to ask. I don't know if that's really an unreasonable question to ask. And the Trump administration's one-page great healthcare plan has been now thoroughly analyzed by healthcare experts, and they basically are puzzled because they say, well, basically it's completely devoid of content. And finally, Portugal, they had an election for president over the weekend. This was a first round. Nobody got the 50% needed to avoid a second round. The Socialist Party came in first. The far right party came in second. And then the centrists came in dead last. That's an interesting result. I'm sure, Robbie, you and I will have a lot to talk about there. As always, please put in your questions, your comments, and your and anything else, any concerns you have inside the Rumble feed or the YouTube feed while we're talking, and we will answer those throughout the show. So, okay, I think that's pretty much it. I guess it's going to be a little bit more challenging to do this with Robbie on the mic instead of just only doing producer stuff for the questions. So I apologize in advance if we don't get to anything. Robbie, before we proceed, do we have any ads?
Let me take a look here and see. 1 second there, my friend.
Mhm.
We do, and it's for my favorite sponsor. Just 1 second. I'll
I
pop
have a feeling
for
I
you.
know who that is.
Well, considering I haven't been to bed yet, I have been living off of 1775 coffee,
Living the
and
Hunter Biden lifestyle, as I said before we came on.
oh, for sure. But the problem is just with more caffeine and less psychedelics.
Mm-mm. Although he's apparently all sober now.
I
That's
hope
what
he is.
that's what they say. Well, at a certain point with someone like that, they have to be, or they're dead.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. One would think. I got the ad up for you now, Ted.
okay,
You want me
great,
to read
thank
it?
you.
Yeah.
I'll do it because I like to be fast. So, sorry to be snotty about my speed, but I'm good that way. Still
Are you
haven't
trying to
tried
say I'm
17.
slow?
Okay, still haven't tried. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee. Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard. The smooth medium roast and the vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler. $170 worth of coffee and gear. Yours for $99. It's for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone, daddy gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. I also have to say, I could probably stand some 1775 coffee because I can't for the life of me remember whether we were supposed to do the show today or not. Today is Martin Luther King Day. And historically, because these shows all originated from basically, TMI show with me and Manila Chan, this show, and all the others, we were all like at Sputnik, and Sputnik used to give us federal holidays off. And of course, MLK is a federal holiday, even though Arizona didn't want to admit it for a long time. And so now I can't remember if our boss was racist and didn't let us have MLK, or if he was not racist and did let us have it. I just don't remember. Honestly, I seriously, with a gun to my head, could not tell you. Do you know? Do you remember?
As far as I know, we were supposed to do a show today. So
Well, I know we said we were going to do a show, and frankly,
yeah.
I was kind of like looking forward to it. There was so much going on. I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to wait till Tuesday. So anyway, just so you guys know, this was a decision by three white dudes, based not on racism but on insanity and dementia. So
Well,
okay,
in all fairness, my wife, who is of the darker complexion than me, she is home today because, she always takes Martin Luther King Day off. And true story. Uh, one of the things that's really kind of fun is that back home, this is Lee Jackson Day. And so we actually celebrate both holidays on the same day. And it breaks people's brains.
is
And
it always the same day, or is it like?
it's Robert Lee's birthday. It's January 19th.
So did they come up with this as a way to fuck with MLK as a racist thing, or is it just a coincidence?
It's the other way around because Lee Jackson Day was started back in the 1870s, and so MLK Day was actually a way to screw with Southern guys like me.
Well, maybe MLK's birth mother like decided to drop that day in order to fuck with the Southerners.
Well, it's not his real. I mean, as far as I know, this isn't his real birthday. It's just what they got us kind of stuck it on there because in the South, it's actually an official holiday in a lot of Southern states.
Yeah, because
And
it's the first Monday of, or whatever. It's the second or third. It's the third Monday of the month, right? So it's
yeah,
like, so it's not. So I guess it could only be at most roughly one out of every 7 years,
right.
the right birthday. Yeah. Okay. Let's. What do we want to talk about first? And then we'll get to. Are there any comments or questions we need to get to?
Oh yeah,
Uh,
we've got quite a few of them. I'm already dropped them over here. We got ourselves some donations coming in on the old Rumble side. Someone's asking if I'm an alien or not.
an
Um,
alien, like
an alien, yes.
illegal alien or a space alien.
I'm not sure. It could be either one. I am a carbon-based life form, but to determine whether or not if I'm actually a human being, I guess that depends on on your interpretation.
Thank you, Sneaker Dad, for the $10. That's much appreciated over on YouTube. Um, okay, and thanks for the $2 from US Triple X A Rod on Rumble. So, and thanks for the buck from UFFUSO. All right. So if I miss anyone, let me know. All right. So let's see here. Robbie, this is from A-Rod. How concerned are you with America First streamers being in club on Miami on stream listening to a song called Heil Hitler? I don't know anything about this.
Well, what it is, it's a Kanye West's song that he did. Is just basically his way of just kind of giving the middle finger to the entertainment establishment after he got canceled. So, do I think it's dumb? Yeah, it is. But I also think that you can listen to whatever it is that you want to listen to. And honestly, I think a big part of the reason why people are doing this is it is pushback from always being called racist or a white nationalist or a Nazi. It's just like, fine, you call me whatever you want. It doesn't really matter anymore. I mean, racism is kind of like calling someone anti-Semitic is kind of like the new racism now. It's just like, whatever. They've used it so much, it just completely has lost its power. So now it's just a meme. It's like the whole reason why my Putin Bot gaming channel exists is because people would call me a white supremacist or a Nazi. It's like, no, fine. You call me whatever you want. I'll take the meme. I'll run with it. I think that's really all that this is. They're just trying to get a reaction and just more to the point, show a middle finger to the people who clutch pearls.
By the way, it is funny. It is interesting to me. I mean, look, on the bookshelves behind me are dozens of books, big, thick, heavy books that if I threw at you, you would end up in the hospital about Hitler and Nazism, right? And like, so I'm obviously super interested in the topic. But that said, it's weird a little bit when you think about it. We're in 2026, and we're talking about a dude who died in 1945, right? Almost no one alive remembers Adolf Hitler. Very few people were really conscious who are still listening to me now in 1945. You have to be very aged. And like, for example, Nazi ephemera is banned on eBay. You can't, the power of that is incredible. I mean, in Germany, for example, the parking lot, which is over the Hitler's bunker, is still paved over. You would think that like that would have been opened up as a tourist attraction to have people traipse in and out the way that you traipse in and out of the tunnels in Vietnam for tourists. Sure. It's still so powerful.
No, it is. And I think a lot of it just has to do with the mythology about how the American empire was built, right? Because we're taught is that the United States won World War II. We came in, we saved Europe, we saved the world from fascism, from Nazism, from the Holocaust. And it's just part of this whole mythology is that if the United States does not stand up, then human beings are going to do mean and dastardly and evil things to each other, despite the fact that the United States dropped 2 atomic bombs on 2 civilian targets, firebombed Tokyo, killing hundreds of thousands of non-combatants. So it has to do with more of the symbolism than it does with the actual. Sorry, the cat's over here screaming at me. It has to do with more with the mythology and the symbolism does with the actual history. I think it's really what this all is.
How come your cat has a collar? She doesn't go outside, right?
Well, she doesn't go outside outside of the apartment we live in, but I'll take her walking in the hallway where we live at.
All right.
And so,
she could get out.
Yeah, so she could get out. So that's why she has a collar.
One of the dumbest things in the world, and we'll get to more questions, is in New York City. When I take my cat to the vet, I was informed that he needed a rabies shot, and I'm like, this cat doesn't go outside ever, and he's not, and he never, he doesn't meet other dogs or cats, right? So why does he need a rabies shot? How's he going to get rabies? Like through the mail? And they said and they're like, well, it's the law. And I'm like, no, I understand it's the law, but it makes no fucking sense. And they're like, well, be that as it may, you owe me $150 for this rabies shot. And I'm like, okay, I think this is the vet lob, the powerful, it's big vet that's doing this. Okay, so let's see. Frasmataz, I think Ted got around to my question, but Scott Stantis said something about the crazy uncle when I mentioned how 1980s bank robbers, The Order, coined Zog and 14 Wars. Okay. Is Robbie an MRT? Are you actually an alien who green screens yourself as an alien? No, because I've actually hung out with Robbie in IRL, so I know
Yeah.
that not to be true.
I'm actually a lizard, and I have human flesh stripped over my exoskeleton.
Well, that's far more normal.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, let's talk about the first story here today. Um, ICE. I mean, obviously, Trump is threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act with all things Trump. We never know if he's bluffing or not. Um, and he may, I don't know. If you had to guess, what do you think he's going to do there? Do you think he is going to do that? The Pentagon says, look, they're saying we're just getting ready. When we think the president might order something, we prepare for that possibility so that if he gives the word, we're ready to go. I don't know if I believed them or not. Basically, they're saying, like, we're sending 1,500 cold weather hardened troops from Alaska to Minnesota, or we have them ready to go at the drop of a hat. Meanwhile, the thing that makes me suspicious is that the FBI has asked agents to go for temporary assignment. I can't even imagine what for. Like, what role the FBI would play there. Basically, the city of Minneapolis, St. Paul, it feels like it's under occupation. All the videos definitely give that impression. Um, this is already a situation that is, I mean, we all saw that violence was going to be like the inevitable outcome here.
Yep.
But already we have a guy in El Paso who was basically probably almost certainly strangled to death by ICE officers for being a pain in their ass in El Paso. And and you have Renee Good, who I think we can say there's a lot of indication that she should not have been shot to death by ICE. Where do we go from here? I mean, this shows no sign at all of going away anytime soon.
No, I think it's going to get worse. And what I'm about to say is probably going to break people who think I'm a Republican right wing fanatic because I'm an immigration hawk. I oppose sending I oppose sending soldiers to do police work. That's a bridge too far. And to answer your question, do I think Trump's going to trigger the Insurrection Act? Yeah, I think he is. I don't think it's a bluff. I think this is a fight that he wants. I think that this is a showdown that he relishes. And the questions are going to be: are the state governors going to have are they going to have the guts to stand up and actually fight the man on it, or are they just going to just keep sending little no strongly worded letters, for lack of a better phrase? Go ahead, Cap.
And not to mention use their, and I've been catching shit over the weekend on my socials for sort of making fun of the activists who are just using whistles.
Yeah.
During the the Nazi occupation of France, the Vichy regime, the puppet regime under Marshal Pétain, established basically a civil defense force called La Défense Passive, passive defense. And, the French howled in laughter and derision about this. And basically their job was to, if you see something, say something. They
Sure.
weren't armed because, of course, the Germans were not going to trust the Vichy people with guns. They walked around and they had whistles, and they were meant to blow them if they, I don't know, saw something. I don't know what they were supposed to see. I don't know, Allied landers or, space aliens or whatever. But this reminds me of that. When I said that, I had several of my Facebook friends get just absolutely enraged with me. Like, oh, like, what do you want them to do? Shoot the ICE officers? And I'm like, well, that would be a little more efficient, a little more effective. There's no real, but one of the people in my feed said something that I thought was fascinating, or very well said. That basically what we're looking here is that in Minneapolis is the difference between defiance and resistance, and they're conflated among the left, but they're not
Right.
the same thing. What we're seeing in people in Minneapolis are, for example, when they see ICE officers walking down the street, they hit from their homes. They hit the car alarm button on their remote so that the car starts going "Wow, wow, wow," in order to unsettle them. That's defiance, or maybe it's just harassment, but it's not resistance. Resistance is when you say, I'm going to stop you from doing what you're doing. No one has prevented anyone from being detained or beaten by ICE. That isn't happening. Like, what's happening is just that, like, ICE is doing what it's going to be doing, but they're going to be doing it amid noise.
Yeah, I think that really all of this is I think it's political posturing. I think the Democrats are playing politics with this. I think they're playing politics with people's lives, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to hide behind the optics. Look at big bad Trump. This is the issue. It's all Trump. It has nothing to do with why so many American people are opposed to immigration. It has nothing to do with the valid arguments that people have against it. Instead, what they're trying to do is play that Trump is a mean orange racist and right wingers are all white nationalists, and they're not actually addressing the actual issues. There's two different issues here. One is economics. Immigration drives down wages. Wages are stagnant. If you want higher wages, you've got to make labor more valuable. I mean, that's a statement of fact. But more to the point, it comes down to being a states' rights issue. If you have a governor like Tim Walz who comes out and says, ICE, you're not welcome here, well, you're the governor of a state. You have power. There are things that you're able to do here. And
Yeah,
that's the problem.
why do you think he's not doing it? I mean, he's a lame duck now. He's not running for a third term because of the fallout from the Somali corruption scandal. So, hey, freedom is another word for nothing left to lose. He has nothing to lose, really. I mean, he doesn't have a future inside the Democratic Party as beyond anything as an occasional possible guest on Ms. Now. So, what's he worried about?
Well, I think there's a couple different things, right? Because let's just take it for let's say if I promote you, Ted Rall, I'm going to make you the governor of New York State,
Thank
and
you.
and you want ICE out of your state because you think that it's a tyrannical force that's overstretching. That while they have the authority under the Constitution to enforce immigration law, you think they're doing it the wrong way. You then have two options. One, well, really you have three. You can either you can completely neuter the Insurrection Act by abolishing the National Guard and calling it the state militia, because the Insurrection Act has no authority over the state militia. Therefore, Trump has no National Guardsmen that he can nationalize because you have them all. I think it would be a strong Ted Rall move. Or you could actually order the National Guard to defy federal law and oppose ICE, in which case then you have to wonder what's going to happen if violence breaks out. What's your political support going to look like if you're ordering American National Guard troops to defy American law enforcement on behalf of people who have no legal right to be here? That's the question, I think. And I think that's really what people need to just kind of take a step back and think about. Because if you are going to defy government, you have to realize that government is not going to take that lightly. They are going to use force to enforce their will, because that's what government does. That's the whole point. And then are you willing to risk violence to defend the rights of people to be in this country, have no right to be here to begin with?
Right.
I think that's the issue.
Right. I mean, by the way, I mean, I agree with that, Robbie. How does it complicate the issue that increasingly ICE is detaining U.S. citizens?
And that's just part of the problem, is because I'm a law and order kind of guy. That's not a big shock. I'm a right winger. I think the problem is that whenever you have so many people who come into the country illegally, that the entire system breaks down by definition. I think that's one of the reasons why Biden did it. You know, like how Trump, his whole first term was just kind of go through and just brute force everything and just push so fast that the government bureaucracy couldn't react. I think that's why immigration was pushed as hard and heavy as it was through the Biden's open border policies. I think his whole idea was, if you bring in enough people at one time, it'll overwhelm the system, and then the collateral damage, the political damage, would be such that no future president would be able to stop it.
Parenthetically, Robbie, I've never heard anyone talk about the following two issues. Isn't it? It's very strange to me that Biden chose the exact moment that he did to throw open the gates to mass immigration. It's not like previous presidents haven't done before, but normally, like in the 19th century, when administrations opened the borders at Ellis Island and places like that, it happened during times of labor shortages and economic expansion. This was during the pandemic, after which we were at very high unemployment. A lot of people had lost their jobs. A lot of businesses had gone under, many never to return. The economy was a fucking hot mess. It was far from clear that it was going to be able to recover at that time. And you're in the middle of a pandemic when you'd want to pretty much seal international borders, right, to prevent the flow of a virus. So between those two issues, it's the timing, assuming you wanted to do this, couldn't have been worse.
I think it's the whole point. Honestly, as the Rahm Emanuel famously said, never let a crisis go to waste.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever a population is in a state of crisis, whether it's real or not, it could just be imagined, just be perceived. People are willing to give up their civil liberties or give up their power to the state because they have this idea that the state can keep them safe or at least maintain order. I think that's really what this all boils down to. I think it's two parts. One, it's about just more control. I think it's about weakening the institutions of the United States corporately, and it's about depressing wages so that way our corporate overlords get higher profits. Why else would you do this?
Well, but you don't want to do, if you're one of the ruling corporate elites, you don't want to depress wages so much that the entire economy collapses and then you can't sell anything and make any profits. That was the danger of doing that there. But that was just, to me, a side issue. I just thought it was weird, and probably this would be like an Achilles Larea question, probably.
Well, I'm actually going to push back on you because this is actually a communist question. And one of your critiques that you have, rightly so, about capitalism. Remember, I've read your book. In a capitalist system, the entire idea is to make money. If you're in business, what is your single largest expense?
Payroll.
It's payroll. So what do you do about payroll? You automate it out or you outsource it. With AI, you don't need as many people.
Yeah, but you still have a consumer-based economy is the counterweight, the counterbalance here. So if you have if you have consumers who have no money in their pockets and the only way they can get money is by working because we don't have a UBI, you've got if you have any brains, you weigh that. I guess I just answered my own question.
Yeah, well, you got to remember, right now it's all about debt. We have a debt-based economy. It's not about wages. It's about how much debt can you saddle people with, and for how long before the entire system blows up?
That is the question. That's how you get expansion out of nothing, right?
Of course.
All right. Desert Fox is asking you a question, Robbie. Have you ever heard of Graham Hancock, Dan Richards, or Andrew Collins?
I never have.
Okay. That's a short question then. Venkatesh, why do Americans hate Indian immigrants? Anyone, please? Is there any substance to this? I don't know. Does Venkatesh, do you think they hate Indian immigrants more than any other immigrants? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not Indian.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with just the symbolism from the H-1B visa program, because a majority
at least 2/3 of them are
Indian. And so,
it's also the customer service thing, right? Where it's like where people, if you have a problem with your bank account or whatever, the odds are you'll be talking to someone who is either from India or has a South Asian accent. They could be in Bangladesh or Pakistan, but the point is they're in some call center, and they often are nice people who can't really help you.
Yeah,
I think it's the best way to put it.
Well, it's that. And also, it's just like, for example, I came here to Montana to begin with because I lost my job picking cotton and peanuts because I was getting paid too much. Think about what I just said there for a second. And then I went to go work for a call center here in Kalispell that was closed, and those jobs are outsourced to, you nailed it, India. And so you have the H-1B visa situation. You have JD Vance. He's married to an Indian lady. Then you have Vivek Ramaswamy, who's the biggest just I got to be careful what I say here because we're on YouTube. Uh, he's the biggest pussy I can ever think of. The guy's a con man. So I think it's just a lot of different things. I think there's just, unfortunately, rightly or wrongly, I think India is just in the spotlight right now.
Robbie, let me linger a little bit on the issue of ICE. My take on this is, as my departed mom would have said, Americans don't care about brown people. They don't care about foreigners. And I think that's still true. And I think that's true about the guy who got killed in El Paso. I'll say he was murdered because I think he was. But they do care about whiteys, and they care about, so there's this family of white Minnesotans who were tear gassed intentionally by ICE the other day. There's been U.S. citizens who have been detained, arrested. There's the Native Americans who I know are brown, or red or whatever. But the point is, they've been who are being held hostage by ICE until to force their tribal leaders to. These are the Lakota Sioux and so on, to let them onto tribal land. I hope that they don't give in there. One of the few things that Native Americans have is sovereignty over the reservation. What's the breaking point? Like, you and I can imagine, right? Like, ICE kills, a white baby. Is that going to be enough to turn the tide? I mean, as it is, we already know that the polls show most Americans favor enforcement of immigration law. They do not favor ICE's tactics.
I don't think it's going to come down to identity politics in this situation. I don't think it has to do with who it is that they kill, what color it is that they kill. And to be honest with you, I don't think Americans particularly care about innocent people getting killed. I mean, keep in mind, we've been we funded a genocide in Gaza for 2 years. So
against brown people, though.
Well, we're also helping kill Russians who have a significant white population. So there's that. No, I think what the breaking point is going to be, honestly, is when the population at large is going to start to demand that their elected officials actually start doing this thing called their jobs. And I think that's Bobby, going to be the issue.
Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. Anyway, okay, so let's get to some more comments and we'll move on a little bit. Robbie, do you not think Trump is going to try to seize a third term? Getting shot at, whether it was real or staged, has made him demented. Stop living in the past, red versus blue.
I'm not living in a red versus blue world. I can assure you, I've got more in common with Ted, who's a communist, than I do with any corporate Republican on the planet. This is about economics and class. This is about personal freedom versus surrendering all of your sovereignty to the state. The Republicans are the single biggest enemy that we have in this country. This is coming from a right winger. So if you're thinking I'm Team Republican, you're sadly mistaken.
Tutoa says Minnesota should secede to Canada. FU so, thanks for the money. Also, troops to Minnesota is a fake out. We're invading Greenland. Well, we should talk about Greenland, and we will. Let's do a few more comments here. How uninformed is Robbie? I don't know, because that's an unanswerable question. How uninformed is anyone? Two bunnies. What a ridiculous argument when government policy has been to allow and even encourage people to enter the country illegally. Yeah, it has, but inconsistently. Let's see. The YouTube pop-up ads are horrid, especially from a platform that doesn't seem to pay its creators well. As someone who lives by the Mexico border, undocumented community is a huge problem. Robbie is right. Question for me. What do I think about the cartoonist called Stone Toss? Sorry, I'm not familiar. I've been still thinking about Scott Adams of all people. It's weird to me that he's gone. Anyway, and the way that he was treated, the New York Post of all people had an op-ed about that. They talked about how he was smeared in his obituaries, and they went through all these examples of New York Times obituaries of right-wing versus left-wing commentators, and sort of, I think, made a persuasive case that the bias, even against the dead, is just kind of ridiculous. And I was just like, God, it's depressing. I bet I won't rate an obituary at all. So I guess in a way that's a mercy, but I won't be around. So who cares? Okay, so let's talk about Greenland, if that's okay with you. By the way, if you're just joining us, Robbie West is filling in for John Kiriakou. We assume John will be back tomorrow. He'll certainly be back by Wednesday, but we will keep you up to date on that. John's traveling today. Looking forward to hearing how that all went. Anyway, so we now have a full-out trade war between the U.S. and the EU. Robbie, when the EU was established, I remember thinking that Europe would, in the future, be the only military and economic force capable of leveraging significant force against the United States. Now, since then, we've seen that China, especially as when they get together with Russia and India, are able to do that as well. But still, how significant is it that the EU has decided to impose all these retaliatory tariffs against the United States, and that now so basically Trump imposed tariffs first. Right. Now these are retaliatory. Now Trump's like, I'm going to retaliate against the retaliation, and we're off to the races here. How much will this affect the American economy?
It's not going to affect the American economy at all, because Europe has no bullets in this gun. So let's just kind of unpack this just a minute. Europe completely depends on the United States for its defense. And by Europe, I mean the sovereign nations that decided to surrender their sovereignty to the American Empire in 1945. The whole reason why Europe is able to have the generous welfare state it has is because it's protected by the American military and paid for by the American taxpayer. Trump knows this. I mean, anyone with a functioning brain knows what I'm saying is true. Once you surrender your ability to defend yourself to another power, you really have nothing you're able to do other than squawk and occasionally pretend like you're a real and serious country. There's nothing Europe can do, because here's the unfortunate truth that people seem to think that we've outgrown, but we really haven't. If you invite another country in to protect you, that country owns you. That's why Trump is doing what he's doing right now with Greenland. The American taxpayer pays to defend Greenland. So in Trump's mind, Greenland is ours. We pay for it. It belongs to us. Europe, you're in the same thing. And also, Europe, I want to just remind y'all of something. The governments in Europe are supporting a war against the one country, i.e. Russia, that can help them be economically viable and independent. They don't want that. Instead, they want to fight Russia. Okay, fine. But they want to fight Russia using the Americans to do it while they're trying to pee in America's bowl of Cheerios. I'm sorry, that's not going to work. You got to pick a side here.
Well, but I mean, look, the United States, Trump doesn't need Greenland, right? I mean, he doesn't. He can, as John pointed out last week, we can come and go as we please with as many troops and as many bases as we want. And we're choosing not to have them there, right? I mean, we have carte blanche. It's like, I've given you a lease to my house. You have the keys. You have the alarm code. You can do anything you want. I'm like, and then, you're like, well, Ted, I need to own your house. It's like, you really don't. It's effectively like you do own it.
Okay, but now I'm telling you, I mean, this is where Trump is thinking about this from, because I've been thinking about this a lot over the weekend, and I think that John is right, and I think that Scott is right. Is that Trump is very much a man of the 1800s, kind of like what Putin is. Kind of like that same kind of that old nationalist mindset. And I've never met the man, but I can guarantee you this is what I'm thinking. If America's paying for it, then America should own it. Because like how you, Manila, like to say, if America breaks something, then America has to own that mistake. That's why we have so many Somalis in Minnesota. Okay, fine, so be it. But then that means the flip side of the coin is true too. If we protect it, that means we own it too. If Denmark wants Greenland, then Denmark should pay to defend it. Denmark should be responsible for its defense.
But Denmark is responsible for its defense.
With what? Forced lead dog teams?
I mean, nobody's attacking Greenland. Okay, I mean, honestly,
listen, I agree with you. I agree with you. But I'm telling you,
there's nothing to defend.
This is the mindset, though. If we're protecting it, we own it.
this is I mean, it's paranoia and it's insane, right? So that is his mindset.
I don't think it's
Do you
paranoia.
think he's serious? I mean, or
No,
is this with Trump? You always have to ask that question, and I guess I'm kind of getting tired of it. At a certain, that's actually an interesting question politically, right?
yeah.
Like, when will the American people get tired of being tired? Where they just get up in the morning and they're like tired of hearing Trump saying this or that, and like 90% of the time, it's not even that it's a lie, because a lie is like kind of an imperfect word for it, but it's a troll. It's like, like the healthcare thing, for example,
Mhm.
we're going to talk about. So, oh, I've got a beautiful healthcare plan that will repeal, the Affordable Care Act. We don't even have to get into whether it's any good or not, or whether it would be an improvement or if it would make things worse, because the truth is there's just no plan.
Right.
And so it's like at a certain point, it's not even the boy who cried wolf, it's the boy who just talked shit, and you just get tired of it, and at a certain point you just start tuning him out. I mean, is there a danger of that happening, or are we just going to keep, you know are we like the cat that's going to keep chasing the red laser pointer?
I don't think so, because I think with Trump is that, love him or hate him, I think one thing that's undeniable is that he is a fantastic showman and he knows marketing.
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
so I think really what this is, he I mean, the man's able to read polls. He knows that he's underwater. He's lost people like me who consider him a traitor. He betrayed the America First movement. Uh, the standard of living and every measurable metric in this country has gone down, and he can't fix those problems. So, what is he going to do? He's going to shift the topic, and he's going to do it in a way that tries to appeal to nationalism. I made America bigger. I made America stronger. I made America great. I stood up to those European bullies. I mean, listen, if I was Trump's spokesperson, in the White House, with the Europeans when they were squawking, honest to God, this is what I would say to them, and it would be a resounding soundbite, especially on the right. Dear Europe, you can't protect your own borders. What makes you think you can protect Greenland? Sit down, shut up. The adults are taking over now.
Well, the fact is that if the US does decide to move militarily against Greenland, it is true that the NATO alliance is dead for the foreseeable future,
Good.
probably forever. Oh, I have no problem with that. NATO should have been disbanded the day after the Warsaw Pact was disbanded. It would have shown goodwill towards the what was then the Soviet Union. But it was unnecessary, and it's a waste of fucking money for all concerned, and it makes the world a more dangerous place. But the fact is, I do think that if the United States wants to invade Greenland, it can, and nothing will happen. The NATO is not going to attack the U.S. Nothing will happen. They'll be very, very angry, and there will be a very harshly worded letter, but
Yeah,
nothing will happen.
of course. And I mean, I think that, Ted, at the end of the day, I mean, I think this is part of the lesson that we should have learned from World War One. All alliances do is allow a smaller and weaker nation to leverage the power, economic and military, of a larger, more powerful nation. That's the whole reason why World War One started. I mean, no one was more against the outbreak of World War One than Kaiser Wilhelm.
Hmm.
I mean, that's just a fact. He did not want that war, but he was dragged into it because of stupid alliances.
True.
And I don't know, maybe I'm giving Trump too much credit here. Maybe if his ultimate goal is to get out of NATO, if he couldn't do it politically, then taking over Greenland is a good way to de facto get you out if nothing else.
Well, that's true. That is, it's like, yeah, it's sort of like, I knew a guy. He was in a terrible marriage, and he basically didn't know how to get out of it, and because his wife wouldn't let him go. So
Yeah.
finally, he pretended to have an affair, and he didn't. It was just a lie. And he basically had his friend like text him and have the phone number and have these fake texts from his fake mistress be quote unquote discovered, and then she threw him out, and he was like, "Oh well, I'm so sorry. You're right. I'm a cad. Bye bye." Maybe that's the equivalent here.
I mean, that's what I would do. Seriously, if I was president and if I wanted to get out of NATO, then what I would do the one thing that would get me out of NATO, which would be to go slap around some pissant European country,
or
that
in this
one most
case,
people
an
can't.
external territory of a pissant European country. Jackson
Yeah.
McGrath says, hey, this is for John. I'm not John, and neither is Robbie, but I'm planning to do a bachelor's in Islamic studies, then a master's in Islamic studies, and a PhD in Islamic political science. And what other degrees should I do for political purposes? My only advice, and I think you're going to agree with this, is study history.
Yep.
Poli-sci is basically the study of theories that are based on historical precedents and examples. You should always be looking at the root material before that. I was going to be a poli-sci major in college, and when I realized that it was all theories drawing on history, I was like, I can come up with my own conclusions and my own poli-sci and my own theories. I want to read the history.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what is a nation? Ultimately, at the end of the day, a nation is a group of people who are shaped together by a common language, culture, and a history. So if you don't have those three things, you don't have a nation. So if you want to understand people or understand different regions, you got to know where they're coming from. You got to know. The story of that people. And I think that's one of the problems with immigration is that it dilutes the story of America.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's part of the reason why there's so much of a pushback against immigration in Europe. It's just because it dilutes the culture, because it dilutes the history.
Monty the Cat says that they're curious as to what a John and Robbie episode would be like. Ted hasn't missed an episode. Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that will happen. So,
it'll be fun. Hey, I'll tell you
sure.
what, me and John have some really wild and interesting conversations sometimes, especially when it comes to states' rights and federal supremacy over the states. That would be a really fun topic to have one day.
And Tammy, my fellow Daytonian, is threatening. If someone sings "I'm a Lumberjack," I'm throwing down. Be careful! I know every word of that song, Tammy.
It's the shirt.
I'm a lumberjack and I am okay. Anyway, so let's all right, so let's see. Oh, we only have 10 minutes left. We have 3 stories to hit. So Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania's finest, he has written a memoir. First things, let's talk about the politics of it. Normally when you write a book, it means that you're planning to run for president, like when you're in that field. Looks to me like Josh Shapiro is probably planning to run for president in 2028 because he's got this memoir coming up. Who knew? I don't think the world was ever really pining for Josh Shapiro's memoirs. Could be wrong. I've made bad bets about the book market before. But anyway, in this memoir, he says that the vetting for Kamala Harris's VP nod, which ultimately went to Tim Walz, was very, very stressful. And that the worst part was that they asked him if he was or had ever been an Israeli agent or double agent, or whether he had ever communicated with a secret Israeli agent. The answer to that last question was, how would I know if they were? And the subtext is that I guess he's supposed to feel super insulted that just because he's Jewish and a Zionist, that like it would be assumed that he's an Israeli agent.
Well, he did serve in the Israeli army. I mean, right there. I mean, if you are, one thing, in my opinion, dual citizenship shouldn't be a thing. But to take that a step further, if you ever served in the military of a foreign nation, you should be disqualified from any public service whatsoever. Like, period. Full stop. If you wear the uniform of another country, you don't get to be dog catcher, not to mention governor or president.
Well, but the point is, I mean, was that an unreasonable question? I mean, I think if you're being vetted for VP, they can and should ask you anything and everything. I don't think you have a right to be like, but sir, I take offense. I mean,
Are you saying this because I'm Jewish? No, I'm saying because you signed bombs and got dropped on civilians and you served in the military of a foreign country. Drop dead.
I mean, it's interesting. Why do you think she asked, though? I mean, look, that whole campaign, I mean, was, it was a Zionist campaign, right? It wasn't like as fully in the tank for Israel as Biden was, but still, This was during the full-out height of the Gaza war, and she never spoke out against Israel in any kind of meaningful way. Why do you think they asked him that?
Because it's an obvious target. I mean, for one thing, he's one of those kinds of people who, on one hand, tries to act like he's so smart and sophisticated and that he is doing the world a favor by simply existing. Meanwhile, if someone dares critique his policies, then he immediately plays the anti-Semitism card. So you can't have it both ways. Either you're a strong and independent master of your own destiny, or you're not. It's kind of like Trump. Trump's whole brand is that he's a winner. So whenever he tries to play like, no, oh, Biden stole the 2020 election from me, kind of goes against brand. With Shapiro, it's the same thing. The problem is with Shapiro, he's not as smart as Trump is, and he has this thing called a record, and I think that's just a big part of it. I think it's a fair question to ask. Were you involved in any way, shape, or form with Israeli intelligence when you served in the Israeli military, and then you used your little Sharpie and you started signing munitions that were then dropped on civilians? That's a fair question.
I think it's a fair question. And I think everything goes when you're being vetted. They can ask you anything about your sex life, everything that might come out and bite you on the ass, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Obviously, in a campaign. Let's talk about Trump's great healthcare plan. I think this is actually a more important story than maybe a lot of people think. So, the Republicans have not had a credible response to the Affordable Care Act since it was signed in, I think, 2011. But that's, we're seeing that really came to a head with this whole struggle over the ACA healthcare subsidies that just expired a few weeks ago. There's over, I guess, at least 2 million Americans have now completely lost their healthcare coverage. A lot more than that are paying a lot more than they did before as a result of all this. There's got to be resentment here. Americans always vote economic issues, and healthcare is an economic issue in the United States because it's so expensive. How meaningful is it that Trump basically created a one-page and that now there's no content at all? Does he have cover? I mean, this is a serious question. Is it good enough to basically, for people who are low information voters, to basically be like, well, I heard that there was some sort of healthcare thing, so presumably, I don't know, I didn't read it, I don't know, and it's whatever. There's something. Does that get that issue kind of enough off his plate, or are people paying attention to the details here? And will this be an issue in the midterms?
It's definitely going to be an issue in the midterms, whether or not Trump is, if he's going to get a pass from it. I don't think so. I mean, I think, remember how last week when he was at, was it a Ford factory, when he flipped off the worker and said, no,
Yep.
said F you? I think that's really what this is. It's the same thing to people who are upset about the cost of medicine and Medicare and just trying to live. I mean, Ted, you know very well the situation I'm going through right now with my wife, and Trump doesn't care. But more to the point, nobody cares. Trump doesn't care. The Democrats don't care. The Republicans don't care. All they care about
do the voters care?
Oh, the voters care, but I think that voters have realized that what we care about doesn't really matter. Right. Listen,
that's true.
If the average American voter could grab their ankles with both hands and pull their heads out of their butts, you could have real meaningful change in this country. The problem is that the pain level's not there yet. And I think it's from two different reasons. One, people like me, they're just kind of jaded. So what's the point? Nothing's ever going to change. And more to the point, I think there's a lot of people are just simply checked out. I think that they are just sitting it out, that they just feel like our government no longer represents them, that our government no longer cares. And that's the thing that worries me, is because apathy eventually becomes frustration becomes anger, and then next thing you know, all the gloves come off. What happens then? I don't know.
Well, that's the genius of the two-party system, right? Like, people always say, well, the implication is that people are voting for their least bad or their favorite candidate. They're not. people are voting against the one that they're the most afraid of. But if we had 37 parties, you could credibly say most people are voting for something. But that's just not true here.
No, we vote against stuff. But the thing is, we always get what we vote against. The whole reason Trump won in 2016 is that you have this guy he's never held political office at all. And the reason why he got elected, and I would bet money on this, Trump won the election on Valentine's Day in 2016 when he was going against Jeb Bush, and he went after Jeb about his brother's war in Iraq, and he called it a big fat mistake, and it was great. That was what defined him against the entire Republican field. That Trump no longer exists. Candidate Trump actually spoke to the needs of the people, and that's why so many people flock to him. Left, right, center, people are apolitical. I mean, even in 2024, he won across racial lines, which is insane for a Republican president to do because he pretended like he cares.
Especially a notorious racist Republican president.
Yeah, but people are able to hold their Mondani. He's a racist too. Now he's talking about white people just have to pay more in taxes in New York City because they're privileged. Dude, fuck off! You don't know how much privilege I have.
Did Mondani really say that? I don't remember that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. And I'll find you I'll send you the quote later on. Right. I found it. But I mean, people are willing to hold their nose and vote for someone who they don't like if that person at least acknowledge the pain point. Mondani won because he talked about rent. That's why Mondani won. Let's be honest. He actually addressed the cost of living in New York City.
Yeah.
I'm a fundamentalist Christian. I would have voted for Mondani if I lived in New York. And I oppose that man on everything, except he was able to articulate the pain point, which is the cost of living.
Right. No, well, that's true. And
I can't eat ideology. I do need to have a place to live.
Robbie, we got a minute left to talk about Portugal, but I think that's all we're going to need. Portugal, the presidency is not a powerful position, but it's symbolically important. The presidency just basically is heading to a runoff between the Socialist Party, which is basically a center-left party, and the far right. Left out of the bag are the neoliberals here. The neoliberals have been completely obliterated. This is a trend we've seen globally. In 30 seconds, what do you think? Do you make as much into this as I do? I think there's just like no interest in that old-fashioned neoliberal bullshit anymore.
Now, there's no room for moderates anymore. I mean, it's time to pick a side. I think you got to get off the fence. You got to decide: are you a globalist or are you a nationalist? There's no more middle of the road playing here. You got to pick a side.
I like it. I do like it. I always hated those fuckers. Okay, so that does it for today's DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. We'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., and we'll be here all week at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. John Kiriakou may or may not be back tomorrow. We'll let you know. We're expecting and hoping that he'll be back, but if not, Robbie will probably be sitting there in the guest chair. Please stay tuned for the TMI show with me and Manila Chan. That's coming up right now. Thank you very much, and take care.